Alright, let's dive into this because it's a topic that's both complex and incredibly relevant right now. So, Israel has raised some serious concerns about the proposed Gaza deal, specifically the part where Hamas is supposed to disarm. And honestly, this is one of those situations where you can't help but think, easier said than done. Here's the thing, Israel's spokesperson, Doron Spielman, basically said that their intelligence suggests Hamas isn't genuinely committed to demilitarizing. Personally, I think this is where things get really interesting. It's not just about whether Hamas will give up their weapons, it's about trust. And in a conflict this deep-rooted, trust is practically non-existent. What many people don't realize is that for Israel, disarming Hamas isn't just a security measure, it's a precondition for even considering a withdrawal from Gaza. Spielman put it bluntly, if Israel pulls back before Hamas is fully disarmed, they believe Hamas will just rebuild and launch another attack. And when you think about the October 7th incident, it's hard to blame them for being skeptical. Now let's talk about the deal itself. Trump's 20-point plan sounds comprehensive on paper. Hamas surrenders weapons, Israel withdraws, international forces come in, and Gaza gets rebuilt. But here's where I have to pause and say, hold on. This plan assumes a level of cooperation and coordination that, frankly, feels optimistic at best. Hamas says they'll disarm, but the process is riddled with obstacles. For instance, the weapons are supposed to be transferred to a Palestinian technocratic committee, but when will that committee even arrive? And what happens if Hamas doesn't fully comply? These are questions that aren't just technical, they're existential for both sides. What makes this really interesting is the timing. Israel's October elections are looming, and Netanyahu is in a tough spot. His far-right coalition partners are pushing him to keep the pressure on Hamas, while opponents are criticizing him for not preventing the October 7th attack. From my perspective, this deal feels like it's being negotiated in the shadow of domestic politics, which complicates everything. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just about disarmament, it's about political survival, regional stability, and the lives of millions of people in Gaza. Another detail I find fascinating is Israel's continued strikes on Gaza, even after the ceasefire was signed. They say they're targeting Hamas operatives, but the reality on the ground is devastating. Hospitals in Gaza reported that at least 17 people were killed in recent strikes, including children. This raises a deeper question: how can you negotiate peace while still engaging in military actions? It's a paradox that highlights just how fragile this entire process is. In my opinion, the core issue here isn't just about weapons, it's about the underlying conflict. Hamas and Israel have fundamentally different goals and visions for the region. Hamas sees armed resistance as a legitimate means to achieve their objectives, while Israel views it as an existential threat. Until that fundamental disconnect is addressed, any deal, no matter how well structured, is going to face massive challenges. What this really suggests is that disarmament is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The international community, including the US, is trying to broker a solution, but the devil is in the details. Personally, I think the focus should be on building trust incrementally, small, verifiable steps that both sides can agree on. But given the history and the current political climate, that feels like a tall order. So where does this leave us? Honestly, I'm not sure. The deal has the potential to be a breakthrough, but it's also fraught with risks. One thing that immediately stands out is how much is riding on this, not just for Israel and Hamas, but for the entire region. If it succeeds, it could pave the way for a more stable future. If it fails, the consequences could be catastrophic. What do you think? Is this deal a realistic path to peace, or is it just another temporary band-aid on a much deeper wound? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more breakdowns of complex global issues. Thanks for watching.